Instead of giving her a lecture, the woman broke down and cried. She cried for hours that Hope promised to give up on her dream. I will not seek him out, Mom. I don't love him anymore, she promised. But the more promise she made, the more her mother cried. I am sorry, Mom. Please stop crying, Hope pleaded. It broke her heart to know she caused her mother such pain, even when she didn't understand why the idea of her being with such a famous person will upset her mother like that. I promise you, I will never speak of him, she vowed and meant it. You don't understand. You can't marry him. He's your brother, her mother said. Her brother? Not in a million years will Hope have ever expected to hear such a thing. I should have told you, I'm sorry, her mother said, still crying. Hope hugged her mother and tried to console her. Right now, all she wanted was for her mother to calm down so she would tell her how she and Kendrick Jackson came to be siblings. Hope, a spirited and vibrant charming lady with heart of gold, lived in the city of Lagos with her crippled mother. Hope remembered the exact date her life changed. She had just turned 11 years old. Before that day, her life was perfect. Her real name was Gift Onowa, and she had a happy childhood. She lived with her mom, who was a small time businesswoman. She had many extended families, her grandparents, her aunts, uncles, and many cousins. With an IQ of 146, she was considered a genius. At 11 years of age, she was in SS1 and she wanted to be a scientist. She just won another scholarship, so everyone believed she was going places. But on that fateful evening, her mother grabbed a few of their clothes, put them inside her backpack, pushed her out through the window, and together they left their home and never went back. When they stopped at the first town, her mother told her that her name was no longer Gift Onowa, but Hope Heavens. From that day, her whole identity changed. For years, they moved from town to town, never staying in one place for too long. Her mother homeschooled her. For years that they were in hiding, moving from town to town, her mother always washing their bags. Hope believed her mother was mentally unstable, but she loved her anyway. Without steady job, life became hard for them. Her mother did odd jobs and hawked things on the street to make ends meet. At a point, Hope stopped trying to make friends in whichever town they ended up in. One day, when she was 17 years old, she had a bad case of pneumonia that she almost died. So her mother had no choice but to reach out to a family member. She reached out to her big sister and went to stay with the woman. The woman's last born, Lily, was Hope's age. Hope had been friends with Lily before they went into hiding. So when Hope heard they were going to stay with them, she was happy despite being at the point of death. 2 weeks later, on the day that Hope was supposed to be discharged from the hospital, armed robbers has gone to the place Hope and her mother were staying. Unfortunately, Lily and her mother were there too. Lily and her mother were killed. Hope's mother was shot too, but she survived and had remained in a wheelchair ever since. After that, Hope became the breadwinner of the family. But one good thing came out of that tragedy. They never moved again. Hope did all kinds of work to survive. She cleaned people's houses, she ran errands for them. Because of her high IQ, she was able to learn different kinds of skills, so money was never a problem for them. Whatever she set her mind on, she will always achieve it. Her mother urged her to get a degree, but Hope saw it as a waste of her time. She believed that there are different kinds of education, one doesn't have to go through the conventional way to be educated. Hope had one vice though. She had a huge crush on Kendrick Jackson, a famous actor. Each time she saw him on the screen, something like a magnet would pull her to him. I am going to marry him, she said to her mother one day when they were watching one of his movies. Her mother, Evelyn, almost choked on the juice she was drinking. She scolded her and then lectured her about going to the university and getting a degree. She said Hope should be focusing on securing better future for herself instead of fantasizing about some actor. It was a long lecture that made Hope wonder if she had committed some crime without knowing. As the day went by, her obsession with Kendrick Jackson grew. The more she saw him on the screen, the more she wanted to be with him. And every time she mentioned marrying the guy, her mother would become agitated and would go ahead and lecture her for hours. At a point, Hope deduced that her mother was trying to distract her with the lectures. So she stopped mentioning Kendrick Jackson to her mother, but she was determined to achieve her aim. Before her life changed, Hope was a dreamer. Her biggest desire and aspiration was to discover cure for every sickness. I will find cure to all sicknesses. I will heal the world and eradicate sickness forever, she used to declare, especially to her mom, who has always been her best friend and her cheer squad. Now that she was older, she knew that her childish dream of eradicating sickness is unattainable, but she would have loved the opportunity to try. Right now, however, the only thing she desired with the same passion and eagerness of her childish dream was meeting Kendrick Jackson and being with him. This time, she was determined to pursue her dream. To achieve her aim, she studied movie making, trying to figure out the shortest route to her goal. After a critical study, she chose to become a makeup artist. She searched online for those that teach film and theater makeup and enrolled in one of the biggest academy in the city. It was a 6 month course, but with her IQ of 146, she found it easier to learn things that would have taken others long to learn. In 1 month, Hope had covered her 6 month course and has become expert in film and theater makeup. Her problem now was how to go into working on movie sets without upsetting her mother. Her mother was everything to her and Hope will not intentionally upset her. She told her everything so it never occurred to her to go behind her mother's back and get what she wanted. One afternoon, Hope took courage and told her mother her plans. Mom, I know you don't want me to, but my desire to meet Kendrick Jackson is strong. I try to fight it for your sake, but it is not working. I'm ready to pursue my dream. I hope you will support me. Hope said to her mother, hoping she will support her. She also expected her to lecture her, but what her mother did surprised her. Instead of giving her a lecture, the woman broke down and cried. She cried for hours that Hope promised to give up on her dream. I will not seek him out, Mom. I don't love him anymore, she promised. But the more promise she made, the more her mother cried. I am sorry, Mom. Please stop crying, Hope pleaded. It broke her heart to know she caused her mother such pain, even when she didn't understand why the idea of her being with such a famous person will upset her mother like that. I promise you, I will never speak of him, she vowed and meant it. You don't understand. You can't marry him. He's your brother, her mother said. Her brother? Not in a million years will Hope have ever expected to hear such a thing. I should have told you, I'm sorry, her mother said, still crying. Hope hugged her mother and tried to console her. Right now, all she wanted was for her mother to calm down so she would tell her how she and Kendrick Jackson came to be siblings. When the story came, it was beyond what she expected. Hope had thought that maybe her mother got pregnant for Kendrick's father, who was already married and the man rejected them. What she heard, however, was the most bizarre and cruel story she could ever imagine. I was 17 years old when I met him, her mother began. Then she told Hope how she was seduced and was impregnated by an older man, a man named Alfred. As typical of Nigerian parents then, they chased her out and forced her to live with Alfred, who mistreated her. When it was time to give birth, Alfred took her to a hospital and abandoned her there. He didn't pay for anything or buy anything, so the hospital asked her to leave. She could barely walk, but she had no choice but to leave. Outside the hospital, she saw Alfred, who was finally coming back to check on her. "Where are you going?" he demanded. When Evelyn told him what the hospital said, he started shouting at her as usual, blaming her for everything. Alfred had made it clear that it was her fault they were in that situation. As they argued, a man came out of the hospital and approached him. Evelyn noticed that the man was watching her when the nurses were chastising her for not making preparation for her child's arrival. That man was Damien Jackson, Kendrick's father. He asked what the problem was, that he could help if it was money they needed. Alfred told the man to mind his business, but Evelyn, who was in labor and needed help, told the man everything. The man then inquired the sex of their baby, and once they told him it was a boy, he offered them money in exchange for the boy. At first, Evelyn had thought that he wanted to adopt their child, but Mr. Jackson explained to them that he wanted to exchange his daughter with their son. According to him, they already had 4 daughters, and his wife vowed to kill herself if it is another daughter. "I know she's carrying a female child, and she's about to give birth. Help me, please, and save my wife. Who will take care of our daughters if she kills herself?" he begged them. "So you handed him your child and took me?" Hope asked, trying to cut the story short. She was already getting disappointed at her mother. "Of course not. How can I hand over my child to a stranger?" her mother replied. Then she went ahead to tell Hope what happened next. Alfred was a greedy man. Once he heard the amount the man was willing to pay, he agreed and made arrangements with Mr. Jackson. Once Evelyn gave birth, her son was exchanged with the man's daughter, and then they were forced to leave the hospital so the man's wife would not find out. The man paid Alfred 3 million naira, which was a very big money then. But on their way home, Alfred asked her to dump the baby on the roadside, but Evelyn refused. Alfred threatened not to give her a dime from the money if she insists on keeping the child. Evelyn refused to do what he wanted, so he beat her up and told her not to come back to his house with the girl. If her father doesn't want her, why should we keep her? He reasoned. After Alfred beat her up and abandoned her on the roadside there, Evelyn had no choice but to go back to her parents. Her parents forgave her and welcomed her back. However, she did not tell them the truth about the girl. She was afraid that they will reject her the way Alfred did. Her parents took care of the little girl while Evelyn went back to school. She gave her the name Gift because to her, she was a gift. As Gift grew, she was loved by everyone and very smart. But at each of her birthday, Evelyn was filled with sadness. She kept wondering what happened to her son. She didn't know who the man was, so she had no idea how to find her son. However, when Gift was 8 years old, Alfred came back into their lives. He had found out who Mr. Jackson was and wanted to use Gift to get more money from the man. Evelyn didn't want to be part of it, so she threatened Alfred that she would expose him to everyone if she did not leave them alone. Alfred knew she was bluffing and called her bluff. He threatened to kidnap the girl and use her to achieve his aim if Evelyn didn't agree to his terms. Evelyn was afraid, but before she could gather the courage to tell her parents, Alfred died in an accident. She was tempted to use the information Alfred gave her to find the people who have her son, but she was scared that they would take her daughter away, so she kept quiet. 3 years later, when Gift won a state scholarship, the desire to meet her biological parents and to find out how her son was doing overwhelmed Evelyn, so he decided to seek Mr. Jackson out, an action she has regretted to this day. When Evelyn found Mr. Jackson, she realized that he lied about everything. Mr. Jackson's wife, Isabella Jackson, had only given birth to one son, Kendrick, before she gave birth to her daughter. Why did Mr. Jackson lie and took her son away? Why didn't he want his daughter? These are questions that Evelyn needed answers to. So she confronted him, hoping to get answers. I thought that after what happened to your greedy partner when he tried to blackmail me, you will be smart and stay hidden. But it's obvious you are as foolish as him, and foolish people don't end well, Mr. Jackson said to her, making obvious he was behind Alfred's death. Evelyn tried to assure the man that she was only concerned about her son's welfare, but she knew she and her daughter were in danger. While going home, she noticed that someone was following her, so she entered another compound and left through the back. She then went home thinking that she had escaped. 2 days later, a friend called her that some thugs are offering people money in exchange for information about she and her daughter. Evelyn knew she couldn't delay anymore, so she packed a few of their things and escaped through the window with her daughter. She knew that if Mr. Jackson was willing to kill to keep his secret, he will not stop until they were both dead. So she stayed hidden, and Gift's Onuwa became Hope Heavens. Not until the time I was 17 that I almost died, Hope said, remembering the past. Yes, I couldn't watch you die, so I contacted my sister. The reason Evelyn had contacted her sister was because she was the only one that would take them in without asking questions. But it turned out to be a mistake. Her sister and Lily died because of her. Though Evelyn did not tell her sister everything, she told her that someone was after their life. As a result, her sister did not let them stay with her. Instead, the woman got them a temporary place to stay. The only reason they were in that house when the assassin came was because Hope was going to be discharged from the hospital that evening, and Lily had insisted on giving her a warm welcome. So she and her mother had gone to the house to decorate it in advance. Three of them were decorating the house when Mr. Jackson's thugs came and shot them. After her sister and her daughter, who was Hope's age, were killed, Evelyn knew that Mr. Jackson assumed they were both dead, so she stopped moving from place to place. It was a pity that her sister and her daughter had to die for them to be able to live freely. After listening to her mother's story, Hope was filled with questions. Why did her father not want her? Why did he want them dead? Is her biological mother part of it? Evelyn did not have answer to any of her questions, but she told her that the only reason she told her the truth was so she would stop crushing on Kendrick Jackson. Hope wanted to meet with her birth parents. She was determined to find out why her father wanted her dead, but her mother will not hear of it. She was afraid that Mr. Jackson will come after them once he realized that they are still alive. But Hope was determined to get answers. She assured her mother that she would be careful and would not reveal herself until it was absolutely safe and necessary. For months, Hope read everything about the Jacksons family and studied them, trying to find an easier way to get into the family. In the end, she was able to get a job in the Jacksons household as a cook. As weeks went by, Hope endeared herself to everyone except Mr. Jackson. She wasn't only good at her job, she was nice to everyone. While working as a cook, Hope discovered that Mr. Jackson despises Elvis, the son he had taken away from Evelyn. But Isabella, his wife, loves Elvis even more than she loves Kendrick, indicating that she had no idea that he was not her son. Hope didn't doubt her mother's story, but to be double sure, she secretly conducted a DNA test on all the people involved. Once Evelyn's story was confirmed, she decided to reveal the truth. Every Sunday evening, the Jacksons had a family dinner and everyone was obligated to attend. That evening, after the dinner, Hope told them she had something to tell them. Years back, because of the way his father was treating him, Elvis conducted a DNA test and found out that he was not his father. But it never occurred to him that Isabella was not his mother. He had assumed that his mother cheated, and that was why the man hated him. So when Hope revealed the truth, he too was shocked. Mr. Jackson was shocked too because he strongly believed that the daughter he threw away was dead. But the most shocked people in the room were Kendrick and her mother. Isabella Jackson didn't believe a word Hope said. To her, the story was far-fetched. But before she could take action against Hope, her husband opened his mouth and what he said shocked everyone. "You are lying! That girl is dead. I made sure of it," he shouted at Hope. Everyone was shocked. "Damien, what are you talking about?" his wife asked him. Realizing his blunder, he tried to cover it up, but Isabella was smart. She demanded to know the truth. "How is this girl my daughter? And how come Elvis is not my son?" she demanded. During her pregnancy, ultrasound had revealed she was pregnant for a girl, but when they told her she gave birth to a boy, she didn't question it. She assumed that the ultrasound made a mistake. Isabella wanted to know why her husband will exchange their daughter with a stranger's son. Hope also wanted to know the reason behind this man's action. When he told them his reason, they were baffled. It happened that the wealth of the Jacksons family came from his wife. In Isabella's maternal lineage, they passed their wealth to their daughters and not their sons. This happened because one of their ancestresses suffered greatly in her husband's house that she almost died because she didn't have her own money. After running away from her husband's house, she vowed that none of her daughters would suffer the same fate. So she worked hard and became rich. But instead of transferring her wealth to her sons as the norm, she transferred it to daughters and made a decree that the wealth must be passed on to the daughters and not the son. And it has been like that ever since. So Isabella will have to pass her wealth to her daughter and not her son, and Damien didn't want that. When he wanted to marry his wife, everyone called him a gold digger because Isabella was wealthier than him. He felt inferior and humiliated, so he vowed to end their female lineage. Isabella was an only daughter, so if she didn't have a daughter, she would be forced to bequeath her wealth to her sons, thus bringing an end to their family inheritance pattern. A wife is not supposed to be richer than her husband. It makes a man feel less of himself in his own house, he shouted, trying to defend his actions. Isabella was speechless. She could not believe that the man she had loved for many years would deliberately harm another human being. How much more killing someone and trying to hunt down and eliminate his own daughter just because of an inheritance? Police were called. Mr. Jackson was arrested to answer to the law. Elvis was happy to meet his biological mother. Isabella Jackson thanked Elvin for all the trouble she went through trying to protect a child that was not hers. "Hope is my daughter, and she will always be my daughter," she answered. Since money was no longer a problem, Evelyn was flown abroad where she underwent series of surgeries. In the end, she was able to regain the use of her legs. Hope and Elvis later got married. The two families became one and everyone was happy. I believe there's a lot of lesson we can learn from this story. Tell me what you learned in the comment section.